Well, welcome back to the Awakening Potential Show, where ordinary softens and extraordinary is allowed to emerge. I'm your host, Karen Rudolph. I'm your transformational journey guide, speaker, founder of Tranquil Solutions, and the author of Spiraling Up, Command Your Light. The show is devoted to real conversations that awaken possibility, expand perception, and support us all as we spiral upward through life with greater awareness, clarity, embodiment, and purpose. Because transformation does not happen by pretending we all have it all together. We don't. It happens the moment we become willing to connect with ourselves honestly, consciously, and courageously. And today's guest is bringing exactly that kind of conversation. So today we are joined by someone whose work, story, and presence is creating powerful ripples in the world. And I'm so excited to have him here. Gary Spivey is a spiritual teacher, intuitive healer, author, medium, and psychic. His mission is to support people in understanding their spirituality is not merely a belief system, rather an experience that can personally be accessed and applied. Gary, thank you for taking the time and being with us today. It's so great to have you
Hey,
here.
glad to be here. Thank you, Karen. I'm so excited to be here on your podcast because we met in some situations where we're doing other shows and filming some TV shows and doing some other stuff, and I just fell in love with you from the very beginning. And it was really crazy because I have a staff of people trying to get me through my busy day, and they all fell in love with you too. So we just tried to adopt you, and so you're
I'm
officially adopted.
adaptable.
So you guys are going to want to adopt her. She's like that. And so we appreciate you so much. And I was looking, going over some of your stuff, and I think that with your book and all the different things, podcasts, the lectures, all the stuff you do all over the world, you actually really do the same thing I do a different way. We all have our way at getting the point across, but
Exactly.
you shake them. You can do what I do. You just grab them and shake them and go, hey, this. And I think you really do get your point across. And so I love the whole thing where your thing where you talk about vulnerability and
Yeah.
authenticity are
Mhm.
strengths, not
Yeah.
weaknesses. And I was born psychic. I was a little kid. Let me see if I can find a picture. I was born psychic. And so since I was born this psychic kid, here I am. And this is when I started being psychic and telling my family of
What a
stuff. So
Tell
I
us a
was
little more about that. 3 years old, and you knew you were psychic already. Well, obviously, you didn't put a name to it, but how did
right.
you relate to that?
I think it was normal. It sounds a little crazy, but it would be like if a person was born blind, if a person was born, deaf, being
Right.
deaf would be normal. Being blind would be normal because
Mhm.
that's all you. So I was born not missing one of my senses, but I was born having an extra one. And I was really a little freak of nature. And so I could tell everybody everything of whatever's going on in their day. I could warn them of disasters. I remember telling my father he was going to be in an accident. And I saw him getting in a car wreck, and I told him. And then he came home, and I remember him being upset with me because he's like, "Did you do that? Did you make that happen?" Because being from the Southern Baptist background, everybody's like, all they got different things they think. And so I think it was a little misunderstood from him. My mom, however, was very accommodating in every way, believed in every way, always humored me and told me to be me. And I always was me and still am me. And so this is me. And I could see things, know things. I remember my sister would have migraine headaches that were crippling as a teenager. She was 10 years older than me. And I one day just told her, I said, well, I can make it go away. And she said, oh my God, please. And she's crying because her head's hurting so bad. And so I just reached and touched her head and pulled the dark energy that I could see out of her head, and her headache instantly went away.
Wow.
And it sounds like nothing, but she had serious migraines, crippling. And so, anytime for the rest of her life, if she had one of those things that would come on her, I could just pull it away. And it would, and so from a very early age, all this stuff, healing people, seeing the future, projecting light to people. And I was always a love bug. So I was just this little love bug that ran around just loving everybody. And everybody seemed to love me. And I've been lucky all through my whole life. And but I think the answer is really to be this love bug. But there's a lot of answers in as we grow up. And one of the things that I struggled with because I was born being able to see through walls, I could literally, they used to play games like count the cups in the cupboard. The door would be shut in the kitchen and they would say, count the cups. And I would go, there's 7 cups, 2 glasses, and a measuring cup. And if you open the cabinet door, there would be exactly that. So here,
Wow.
I'm this little kid that can literally see through walls, right? So it's a little hard to get me vulnerable. And because I learned to use it for my own good too. And I'm like, I'm not going to be vulnerable's weakness. But no, and you made me really get this thing of where vulnerability is not a weakness, but it's a strength because you have to be vulnerable and you need to, and you make me, you could explain this better than me. And also being authentic, I get that one because you have to be your true I am person, your real I am self. And that's how spirituality works. You start with where you are first, who you are first. But I think if you're not a little vulnerable, you can't even be who you are. And so, because you're a little guarded, you're a little bit of a control freak, and you're not as allowing as what you need to be. You explain vulnerability to me again. Do it one more time.
So my version of vulnerability is, and I wasn't always vulnerable. I was always the kid who was afraid to open their mouth because I always thought I was stupid. And it wasn't until I realized that I wasn't stupid, which was much later in life.
See, I
It's
did exactly the opposite. See, I thought I was smart because I could see through walls and knew those things and count the glasses in the cupboard or whatever. So I thought I was smart. Then I had to figure out I was stupid. And so once I realized, no, I'm stupid. This is stupid. And it had to do with vulnerability. And
yeah,
then my world opened up and I ended up just being so much happier. And
yeah.
so with being vulnerable. And so let your guard down a little bit. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
It's all good. We're having a great conversation. For me, I became vulnerable and I learned about vulnerability much after my divorce. And I realized I was always on guard and I wasn't being my authentic self. I wasn't true to me. I didn't even know
Right.
who me was. So once I started doing some self-reflective work and stuff like that, I always trusted people. I always had this sense of trust, almost too much so to the sense where I was actually abducted when I was 11 years old. And so that's part of vulnerability. It's being able to speak about it now without being triggered with it. Because my
Wow.
thought is if I can be vulnerable, real, and authentic, then I'm going to support others who might be a little more naive or not thinking in terms of, or not watching their kids or whatever that might look like. But I became more so vulnerable. I'm still guarded. There's a sense of guardedness there, but vulnerable in the sense that you could ask me pretty much anything, and I will tell you from a heart space where my perceptions are, because everything is perception and point of view. So, from my point of view, being vulnerable is a strength because for me, without relatedness, and it's all about relationships, nothing's going to work. How can we possibly be intimate with somebody if we're not being vulnerable to a degree and trusting to a
I think that's 1000% accurate. And then you have to find that person that you can do that with. And then
degree?
when you find that person that you can do that with, you found your soulmate.
Exactly.
You
I
really
feel
did.
so
And then you know what? And then relationships are not work.
they're not
Relationships,
exactly.
no, when they're perfect and they just flow and things are great and they stay great. So I think that as we get older, I wish that I would have come with a little owner's manual. I think everybody wishes that, right? Come with an owner's manual, you would go, "Ooh, that's it." You see. But anyway, here we are. So, but I certainly appreciate you, and I appreciate your insight and your wisdom. You must feel really fulfilled when you talk to people and you tell them something. In my case, the vulnerability thing, but you tell them truth. A truth comes out, and I know I can feel it. You can feel it too when you tell someone a truth and they have an aha moment.
I love that.
the reason we do what we do is
Absolutely.
when people are just like going, "Oh my God, I get it. I finally get it." And so, and I would tell everybody that is watching the podcast today, I would just say, just do your best to get it. Be a little vulnerable, be open to things, realize that you're not trying to find something always in everybody else. Find yourself. And so when you get to where you can see your true self, your true I am being, who you are, then you
Yes.
will find, start there and things will just fall into place for you. That's what I see.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's spirit, it's not only spiritual, but it's Shakespeare said in 1600 in the play Hamlet, to thine own self be true. And it's biblical, right? When you know yourself, you know others. Right? When you know others, that's when the dance begins for me.
You
It's
know, the fun
exactly
of life,
that.
because nobody can have fun in your life but you. And if you're not having fun, you're not enjoying, you're not savoring, you're not having those moments. And so, and it's hard to be in love or attract loving, caring relationships, even in friendships or business or whatever you do. It's a little hard to attract that. So be yourself. And even if you say the words, I am. Sometimes I tell people this, and I do different I am meditations. I teach people just to meditate, and every now and then, just when you're feeling all weird and funky and crazy, just say, I am, and focus yourself to your true I am, and you'll find things go better that day.
Exactly. Mary, I'm curious, going back in time a little bit, if you would, you're obviously different than most of the kids around you. You grew up in the South. How were the children treating you at that point? Obviously, you're different, and that must have been challenging in and of itself, no? To maintain.
Well, I did not have fear. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't have much fear. And so I think that a lot of times kids are afraid. And it's not that I shouldn't be afraid. I grew up with a Southern dad that was basically Satan himself on a bad day. And I grew up with a mother that was basically Mother Teresa. She was like a saint always. And so it was a very extreme. But when even as a little kid, I could see demons, really see them. And this is where little kids will talk about the monsters in their bedroom.
Right.
Well, the reason is because they have monsters in their bedroom. They can see in the dimensions where demons do exist. They can all see in the dimension. They can see in the dimensions where angels exist. And when they go to mom or dad and they go, "What's that monster in the corner?" or "What's this angel that's coming through the roof?" And so they're even afraid of angels at this point. And so, or why does this look like the picture of your dad who died and their grandfather's hanging out with them? And so many of these kids are going through spiritual experiences that literally scare them to death. I had no fear. For some reason, I was just this kid that was born with no fear. I wasn't afraid of the dark. I just didn't have fear. And so, because I didn't have fear, I think I did not attract a lot of negative situations which could have happened. How did I do growing up? I did great. I had fun. I was this little maniac kid that was very artistic. I could play music and I played in bands. I was playing in nightclubs at 15 years old.
Oh,
I played bass and keyboard, but the band was a great band, and we played in really high-end nightclubs when I was only 15 years old. And so, of course, we all acted older and looked a little older, so we got away with it. And we weren't even old enough to go to a nightclub, much less play in one. And back in those days, nobody cared much. And so for me, growing up was just fun, and I enjoyed it. I loved every aspect. I was lucky enough to grow up in a beautiful part of North Carolina where I live now, central North Carolina. Back in the day, you know, South people think everybody was prejudiced. They were not. That is a myth. And I know people will be shaking me right now and going, "You're crazy. It was bad. It was there. Yes, it was a bad era." But when I grew up in the 70s, 80s, it wasn't like that. And so I went on off to enjoy my life. I lived in Florida. I lived in Beverly Hills. You know, I did a lot of, you know, TV different things and hung out with my famous, you know, friends. I got a vision to move back to North Carolina. And when I'm back, I was really because there was a lot of prejudice. And everybody was acting like this had been going on forever. And
wow.
when I was it wasn't. My best friend was black. You see, and we have that. I know that sounds crazy because people will think, "Yeah, you did." We did not,
Yeah.
and so really interesting. I was talking to one of my childhood friends the other day about this, and they were confirming the same thing. They said, "Yeah, no, we care." And so through the era of when the schools got this and that, So in my life, I've seen a lot of change. People tend to change different ways.
Yes.
We didn't live in Alabama. It wasn't like that. We lived, and so everybody kind of was just Southern, took care of each other. The biggest thing, they just laughed in church on Sunday and ate a lot of good food. And we still eat a lot of good food. And so it's like that. And so, you know, you
I
know,
can attest to that.
yeah, spiritual retreats, we feed them to death. I mean, we have a so, and a lot of people even cook. I'm cooking up
Yeah.
stuff, and so, but we have. I think it's the oneness and the camaraderie can be a beautiful part of cultures. And I first moved to Beverly Hills, I was already on television. I was already doing gigantic morning radio shows to millions of listeners. I was on the number one radio show in Los Angeles, and so I had, I don't know, a couple of million listeners, and it was so that was world. Over at my house every week would be. Goldie Hawn would stop, daughter Kate Hudson, who was an actor, or different ones. Um, it's always she was one of my. So Daniel Steele, the author, same thing, and a lot. I can on and name drop, and like, you got to be kidding me. And that was just normal. But here was my secret. Even my Hollywood manager guy was like, "How do you do that? These people, you can't get them to do anything." Because he was a Hollywood manager. He says they won't do anything for me, but they'll do everything for you. If you're having a dinner party or a hamburger hot dog outing, show up. And he goes, I can't get them to show up at anything. And he goes, how do you do that? And I said, well, Barry, I think it's because real. I come from North Carolina and come over and let's have dinner. They're going to have fun because when you go to this authenticity thing you talk about, being authentic, your real true respond to that. And so advice to everybody, just be you. Play you in the movie. Everything you think that's wrong with you or weird with you. I mean, if you look at me, I'm kind of a crazy, but I can walk around anywhere in the airport in the world and someone will really come up and go, how you been? And so it seems, and that's just who I am. I think people think they have to or who they are, and you don't. Be your true self, and you're going to find people will like you and love you. It just seems to work that way.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
so.
I have a question for you. Somebody, for you as a bit the least. Before I met you with you, I really didn't know who you were and how popular you were out there in the world. I lived in Orlando and we had this little town called, oh man, I can't remember the name of
Casadega.
Pasadena, yes.
Yeah.
You drive in and you find somebody to do a review. And it was always so your dad wants you to know that he's proud of you, or something very generalized, right? So a little bit more and
Hokey.
yeah,
Hokey,
right.
right.
And yet, I mean, yet, and yet I know you're the real deal. It's just
Yeah.
of as the way of being is. How do you separate the skeptics, I guess it would be, from like, you know, people finding somebody like yourself?
You first of all, for me, it would always shows. I would just be psychic on the show. So doing morning drive time radio shows, really simple. Gary Spivey, the psychic is on this number now and ask him your question. So
Oh,
random people that I'd never met before would call and ask me whatever their was, and I would give them a specific answer where they would go, "Oh my God, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right." You bored? After you hear that, at times, then of course, and some of them were freaky right, crazy things, with Drive J's, and so they would have me doing all kinds of stuff, and whatever they could think of that would be more radical the next day, or whatever they would do it, and so they would make people say today's question is call in and ask how you're going to die. All right. Well, if I can read that too. So in those days, you did radical stuff and anything went. And so I would answer those types of questions. I remember a guy calls in, he goes, "How am I going to die?" I said, "You're going to die because of a big tractor trailer truck." He goes, "I'm a truck."
Wow.
You see what I'm
Wow.
saying? So
Yeah.
you go for this line. Means you're a good showman, you see. And how do you and then people make their own mind up, you see. But then I would tell the guy, here's the accident I see you getting in. Here's why. Don't do this, this, and this, and you won't die in a truck. And so, and then he goes, you feel a little warm right then. Feel that? You see,
Yeah.
I'm an empath. I'll feel in your body or the truck driver's body that he has going. And so a little bit of light and a little bit of warmth is really the truth coming through. So anytime you're at your true vibration, your true self, your true I am, or you have a aha moment, which you make people have tons of those all the time, Karen. And so when they have these aha moments, what it amounts to is they go to their truth. And it's like with you, you said, I hadn't had a private reading with you, but I know you're the real deal. But you've seen me talk to people and they freak out and freak out and freak out and tell them. And so you really can just yourself in the movie. But I always tell everybody, and I tell other spiritually gifted people when they ask the question, how do I get them to believe in me? And I always tell them, that is not your job. It's not your job to make anybody believe. And because
Right.
when I can actually see here in angels and God, and so or should I say and angels, in that order. But I talk to God all the time, times a day. I can see him, hear him, and I can even had a dying experience years ago with COVID, and in my death experience, it was like one of these near where you die, but you come back. When that happened, I became like most people do more psychic, but I was already psychic, real psychic. And then
Mhm.
after that experience, I become a freak of nature. So I could then not only hear what God was saying, I could hear what he was thinking. And so, because I got the gift of God consciousness. And so then, if I can hear, so to hear what God is thinking was a game changer. And it really just made things more refined where I could see even a deeper truth, a deeper sense of what the real message is or the real mission is. And we all have a mission. That would be our path, our road, our what is us, what is the. You would simply, and you can ask God for spiritual gifts, and you'll get the gifts. So if everybody wants to know what their path is, you simply say, "Dear God, please give me my golden path. Dear God, please give me my golden path. Dear God, please give me my golden brick road. God, please give, you could ask for these kind of gifts. And there's a new gift, which is there's so much going on really fast in spiritual land these days. It's a very different world. And so you can ask God golden diamond brick. That's the spiritual gift. God made a golden diamond brick. And so you can reach and grab it, you can put it in your chest, your body will start to feel warm. So yours did right then. I felt it. Your face got a little warm and now you feel light all the way to your toes. And but that feeling, that means that you brick in God's golden highway. So God's got a brand new golden highway where manifestations actually happen really fast. And just to get the gift of the golden diamond brick is a big deal. And then you'll find that you'll fit into the cobblestone in God's golden diamond highway. And you'll be able to manifest side effect. You'll be able to manifest really, really, really fast. And so I think it manifests something abundance, love, new house, new car, trip, whatever, good health. And so, whatever you want to manifest, this is a really super spiritual gift to ask for this golden diamond brick from God. And then you get it. You'll feel your hands a little tingly, and then you'll be able to pull it into your chest. And that's how you get a spiritual. And the more spiritual gifts you get, the better off you are. I did figure that out in my life. And so I'm always getting every day. I get all spiritual gifts. I can't wait to wake up first thing in the morning. I meditate. I run out and outside into my garden and hang out and get gifts. So I think it's really big to do the same thing. It'll help you.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. I had that experience in my 20s, and I actually heard the voice say, and it sounded like my grandmother's voice who had passed on, say, "Go back. It's not your time. You have work to do." And from that moment on, it's like I knew there was an awakening, higher purpose within me, and I felt more intuitive. I don't feel psychic necessarily. I feel things, I see things, but I don't, and not to your degree perhaps, but I'm curious for the listening audience that they want to awaken and strengthen their own spiritual gifts and awaken that within them. What would you recommend, or how would you recommend they do that?
Well, I think meditations are great. I have all these free meditations you can get, every week, GarySpivey.com, and check them out. Do a podcast every Saturday at 9, and just tune in and these other people and have been following me. Some of them for 20 or 30 years, some of them for 2 or 3 days. I mean, it's all over the board. I could have a person that's following me for a day and they may watch the show, get all these gifts, have these tremendous life changes to where they instantly become psychic. And they're like, oh my God, I can see things, I can hear things, I can know things. They could go on from everything for cat to their child. And so having these magical or I could have someone only for 30 years. And the person that came in one day could be more gifted than the person that's known me for 30 years. So it depends. We all have our degree of abilities and we all have our path. And it's not for everybody to be an intuitive or a psychic or be able to be clairaudient or clairvoyant or talk to dead people. But some people, it's quite natural, normal, and they're going to be that way. It's just like me when I was a little kid. I could do all this stuff and I couldn't do anything about it. That's just how I was built. And so we do come in with spiritual, but you can also get new spiritual gifts that will really upgrade you. So it works like that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I never thought of it in terms of psychic personally until you mentioned that because I've healed animals before. I know I
Yeah.
have. And it was like
Mhm.
I was too to heal people, and I'm a nurse by trade.
Yeah, right. What's that? And so, well, everybody has their gift, and everybody has what
Yeah.
they feel like they should. I this gift of healing from the Mayans. They had me do something to straighten out the energy around the Mayan temples in Tulum. And, this Mayan shows up. He says, Miss Khan. And I didn't realize that their god was Kuku Khan. I had no idea, right? I didn't know anything about the Mayans. And
Yeah.
so, but I saw all these Mayan around with their ceremonial garb on in the spiritual dimension, but it looked more like a hologram. And they were in this weird, almost physical dimension. And
Wow.
not only could I see it, my assistant Niels, who works with me for years, he could see the same thing. He goes, "Do you see this? Do you see that?" And and they were showing me the spiritual, and they gave me this gift of healing. And I realized I suddenly had a lot more power than I did. So I did two things. I healed my friend's dog, and he called me back the next day, and his dog had broke his neck and couldn't move, was paralyzed from the neck down. And it was a big Doberman, and healed the dog. And he called me back the next day and said, "My dog can walk." And
Mm.
he said the veterinarian's freaking out because there's no way this dog should ever be able to move. And,
Oh, yeah.
because his spinal cord was severed, makes no sense. He broke his neck. And it was like, okay, what happened there? Right. And so I really, and it was a surprise for me. I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool. And so then I thought about, well, what else heal? Well, my sister, who's 10 years older than me, was taking care of my mother, and she was in her early 70s and was showing signs of Alzheimer's. And my sister was like, she was driving my poor sister crazy. And my sister said, if you learn how to with healing, heal mama because she's driving me nuts. And I said, okay. And I think about that. I worked on my mother. My sister then calls me back and says, can you put her back the other way? Now she's really driving me nuts because she remembers every detail of everything that I did not do, you know. And so, but she's like, she's normal. And she was 90 and she passed away at about 90 years old. And so,
Oh,
yeah, but it was really, and then I had a lot of come to me with stage 4 cancers, all kinds of stuff. And then I would, when I'm really working and doing a lot of sessions, it's not unusual to get phone calls a week with someone calling me and saying, "Hey, I'm free, thank you." And so So but it's really, it's energy, it's dark energy that attacks your body. And
Right.
if you can get rid of the dark energy slash demon, if you can get rid of that, then you'll get instantly better. And so, and it really does work like so. And so, a lot of times people have a hard time believing in demons or anything. It's not pretty, and so, but it might not be pretty, but if it works, it's really pretty.
Yeah.
To understand the dynamic and what we deal with.
Yeah.
People get mad at God, get sick. Sometimes they get mad at God when they lose people that they love. And
Yeah.
and they my advice to those, and first of all, God's bigger than you mad at him. He's gonna win. And when you get mad even at yourself, it's an automatic disconnect from all the light in heaven. So
Yeah.
you cut your lights out. So don't get mad. Don't get mad at yourself. Don't get mad at yourself is because we're all an extension of God. And so, being this extension of God, we're all capable of these magical, amazing things, and we can do all these magical and amazing things. And so, the more you try that, it works. The more spiritual gifts you get, it works. The more people that you take the time to talk to care about, to love, just to do nice things. I mean, it really does work. And so, yeah, that's about
I
that.
love that. I love that because, question personally, I've always healing abilities. I knew it since I was a little kid that I had this, but
You do.
I don't know how to hone it. I didn't know how to hone it. And I still
Mhm.
am in that space of like, at first it was like, am I right? Am I, it's just trial and error, kind of. And
Mhm.
I know somebody like myself or those who might have the same similar thing going. What do you recommend for that? Or how do you address something like that?
Just do it.
Just keep
That
doing
would be, just do it. And
it.
don't be afraid. Don't
Okay.
be afraid. If you feel you're wrong, um, then you're right. If you
Mm,
are wrong, you instantly are right. As soon as you realize, oh, I was
that's
wrong, then you become right. But so many people are afraid of being wrong, or afraid afraid, just fear itself. One of my sayings is fear is fuel. So
mm,
any kind of fear you have, you're just fueling the demon side of the trade in your world, which you don't want to do. And so you don't want to be fearful. And so what that is. And so if you think about it, these radio shows and and TV different things and live appearances. I did live shows in Vegas, going back to do some now, and so Vegas shows are really fast, and the Vegas audiences are tough. And so you have to quick, really witty, and not be afraid of being wrong. And so, because if you're afraid of being wrong, you'll be wrong. And so, when somebody asks me a question, I have to nail it really fast. And then, if they mess with me, I have to tear them up. And so, most of the do that in Vegas shows, I leave. They're usually crying when I get through, because I make them realize I just simply channel the person most on the other side, and the person starts talking to them in the language that they spoke with each other, and they can't help but be emotional. So I'm like, oh yeah, you're the person that didn't believe I was the real thing. How about now? How about now? A little bit. I mean, I'm psychic and talky with them,
yeah.
but I make my point and they go, come here and give me a hug, and but of course, I would go to the to make somebody believe, but usually God will say that is not your job. You do your job, and it's their job to believe. And I think that's true with everybody. It really is up to me to believe whatever in whatever I want to believe in, and you believe whatever you want to believe in. And so, and that's the have to have some. You got to have, and when you have that, that's where the magic happens. And some people their whole life and really don't believe in nothing because they don't believe in themselves. And so like that to believe.
I agree with you 100%. And thank you for the reminder because sometimes I forget who I am as well. So
It's
let me,
easy to do. It's
yeah,
easy to
so
do. Yeah, you know that, dude. I feel like a total idiot all the time. I can lose something like my phone, right? I can lose we all lose our phones, right? And we got the little apps that'll, find them and all that and that stuff. But I find me losing stuff. It can be as simple as my phone or a car key. And I'm driving myself crazy. And everybody that works with me is running around trying to find whatever I'd lost. And then usually lately, they've been going to me, where is it? Just read it because I can find stuff, right? And I go, I forget I'm psychic. And so like, and I go, oh my God, oh, it's under the bed or whatever. They'll go, it's under the bed. Or I left it in the car. It's in the car, and so this happens always forget I'm psychic. So even though you may be really spiritually gifted, like you could be a healer and it don't go into the same part of your brain that retains. So it kind of goes through you, not in you. And so with me, as dumb as that may sound, I forget I'm a psychic that can find things.
Love it.
I've found animals, pets, people, lost people. I mean, I've just found things for years and years, treasures, money, on and a lot of stuff. And so it's like with that, well, now that makes no sense, does it? And so,
It
yeah.
does. It just
And so
reminds me.
you forget you're a healer. You can have these experiences. We did it when you work, you heal them up with whatever's going on, and you'll have these experiences, and you'll be very aware you've done. By the next week, you maybe have forgot that you've done this thing. And so, one of the biggest things that I love doing, I love working with autistic children. And when I worked with autistic children, I figured it out years ago. I found out how to pop them out of autism. And I can do it quick. And so usually in one sitting with them. And that's the most for me is because, if you heal a child, you're like, whoa, I did something, and something makes you right. But I love that. So I healed lots and lots of autistic and pop them out of autism. They're out of their body. I can clear the dark energies out of their physical body, and then I can see where their spiritual body is floating around out in the. I can get a hold of it, and I can say, "Come with me and get back in your body, or get in your body maybe for the first time." And even the nonverbal ones will get in their body, and then I remember the first one I ever did looked up and said, "I love you, Mama." Wow. Right. The mother was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it," and she was all freaked out. And two autistic little boys. One was 4, one was 2. And they were both autistic. And the first one said, "I love you, Mama." And then she said, "Do the other one." I was like, "Oh no, I don't know if I can repeat this show, because it was the first time I did it." And
Right.
I just bumped into it and I did the same thing, cleared this little kid's energy, got the demons and dark energy out of him, and then got his higher self to slip down in his body, and he was his mother, and he said, "Hi." Yeah. And so then I'm like, I can do this. I was like all cocky. I can do this. I've did it for ever since then. It's been 30 years ago since I probably my first one was maybe 30, even 35 years ago.
What a gift. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And so, but that's rewarding. It's when you see, especially, people that are hung up in things and some, people in comas, same thing, physical body, and you get their higher self to slip back in. And so their higher self spirit can slip back into their body and they'll wake up. And so, I mean, I just countless people, situations over the years. I can think back, it's pretty crazy. And so,
Amazing.
yeah, I can do this, can't find a phone. So I'm an idiot. You know,
No, you're not an idiot. Don't
yeah.
even. So the role of intuition, how does it play a part in everyday decision making?
Um, I would say I use it all the time. Absolutely. Because my thinking is pretty good. I'm a pretty sharp fella, but it's not nearly as accurate as my ability. And it's not as deep. I can't see as far. I can't understand as much. I don't see all the variables. And so um, I use in regular making decisions if I would be buying a piece of property, if I would be trading cars, if I would be taking my car to a mechanic. I mean, real up or the air conditioning system or something. I have regular stuff just and so I would use my intuitiveness like that to figure it out. Sure, a great tool. Everybody should use it. And then when I teach people how to, they go, "Oh my God, much easier. Life is so much easier." Because it is. It's much
Yeah,
easier.
absolutely. I have people to me and say, I don't even know what intuition is, let alone have it. And then they're hung up on not being able to make a decision. So
hmm
do you find that often with people that you're working with?
I think that people are lazy, and I call it spiritually lazy. You can be mentally lazy, emotionally lazy, physically lazy, but spiritual laziness is common. And so sometimes than not, when people, they can be lazy and just to meditate. And so you have to take a little bit of time, requires a little bit of effort, not much, really. It's called allowing. Here's how you allow. I just did it. That's allowing. Nothing. You don't do anything. Allowing is nothing. And see, when you go to the state of allowing, then it's really easy. You'll slip right into the meditation. The biggest problem people have with meditating is they try too hard. And when you try, you run it off. And when you allow, it comes right to you. Simple.
Right.
Yeah,
Love
simple.
that.
Works like that.
I get people at me all the time. How do I meditate? Where do I meditate? All that. And it's so personal for everybody. I'm
Yeah.
not sit there and that's not my thing. I'm in
Mm,
outdoors,
yeah.
brainstorm right there. So
Yeah. Well, it works a little different, but it works. And so there's no wrong way to meditate.
exactly.
If you just want it to work for you and you connect, and that's what you do. And so it's
Love it.
easy.
So what about practical spirituality versus spiritual theory? What's your thoughts on that?
I have very little time for spiritual theory, even though I think it's interesting. I can tell the difference because you don't feel anything. Um, I would say that you're going to have me. I would say most of the time, people who work with spiritual in that genre, at least 80% of them are they're just all theory and they can't do it. How would you know if they can, well, do it? You can tell if somebody's doing it. In other words, like you can tell if they're really connected, if they're really, really in tune and reading somebody, or they're just giving them good advice or bad advice. Who knows? It's a theory. And so I would say the time things are theory, and that would encompass religions and everything else. I'm not down on religion. I'm not saying religion is bad, so I'm not, going down the handbasket. But it's really important, I think, to understand that there are people, even in Southern Baptist land. I had this older black in Las Vegas, and every time she would come to see me, she was very Southern Baptist, and she every time she would see me at a seminar or a casino in Vegas or whatever, I would have her say a prayer. And see, even when you tap in that, so you can almost you get choked up, you could feel the tears come, and she had the gift of prayer. See, some people have the gift of prayer. And you could say, "Oh, dear Lord, please hook me up with this and that and the other thing and a few more things." And okay, good. Thank you, Lord. See you later. I don't know if he hears that. Not sure. I think he hears everything, but I don't know if he pays attention to that. But if a person connects with him and is one with him, then, and they ask for the gift and they have a gift of prayer, I see miracles happen. And so, but this old lady could tear it up, and she was like, I mean, she sort of had like a personality, and I loved her to death, and so, but she had a gift of peace. I can see people, young and old, have this gift, and that means they're really one with God. They're connecting with God Himself and telling Him about their life or what their needs are and or what their desires may be and their may be. And he usually will, just because they're connected with him, usually spoil you and give you whatever it is you're asking for, has been my experience. And so no matter how ridiculous it may sound, it just works like that. Works
Yeah.
like that. So I'm religion, and sometimes I go to these. Every time I go to Europe, I'm always to these big cathedrals, the Vatican or whatever. And I go in and he's hanging out to meet me. And they're showing up. And so I'm like, when I first started seeing this, first time I went to Europe, these legions of angels showing up when I would show up. And I'm like, wow, okay, what is this? And they would just give gifts. They would just be all, at the time, I didn't really know what it was, but it then, manifested in a way where I understood it a lot better. And I realized that spiritual gifts exist, and you can get them through many different ways. You can get them through a relic. You could get them through. I mean, there's like I'm just what's on my desk. You know, this is a crystal I work with people. A lot of times I'll use this before a show, and so like if I'm using this crystal now, oh, you got there you go, you got one. That's good. That's good. Did you get that from me? Did you already have that? I don't know.
This one, I had this
Yeah.
one. My dragon.
Yeah, and so crystal. That's the heaven. That's where I went to when I passed when I died of COVID. I went to Zion heaven. I was privy to all the heavens. That was a lock. That was, and so, um, I get into a whole new genre of how things work. But I use crystals to heal with a lot. I'll have different ones as you see ones around me I hang out with, and so it's like that. And I'll have different artifacts. This is a cool thing. This thing works. And somebody gave me this. See that thing? That's pretty crazy, right? It's a Tibetan gift. And so I do a lot of things with them. How did that happen? I don't know. But a lot of times at my retreats, the Dalai Lama monks, the monks that live with them, actually stay with me. So they stay at my house, and they actually built me and so yeah, I think you saw it. It comes so, but it has magic to it, and that's the Dalai Lama because I keep one, and they always it signifies impermanence. So at the end of creating these magnificent pieces of art, one grain of sand at the time, right? And they said he feels like that you're different, and yeah, you can keep it. And so they gave it to me, and so I've got this beautiful sand, and that we managed. There was a certain way to do it with lacquer and stuff, and anyway, so that's what's in my living room, and but I use a lot of relics to with or to heal other people with. I'm always giving people crystals and things, and so but it really does makes a difference.
It does because I energy. I
Yeah.
speak about energy all the time. I also speak about emotions for transformation. What's your thoughts about that? Energy, emotions, and transformation. What's the
Well, I
connection?
think that you got to get it all together. You got to get I think it's in pieces. It has to do with your mental thoughts. What are your thinking? As with your certainly your emotions are big. That's really big, and that's your how you feel. And you could have a thought, and it could be so what, but if you feel a certain way, you have passion or compassion, then it's a whole nother. I mean, that's what connects with your feelings. And so emotions connect with God's universe. And then you try to become one with, and as you do, then your manifestations come true in your physical world where we walk around and we talk and we hang out and we eat and we do everything, we drive cars, we do whatever, right? That thing. And so if you get your physical, your mental, emotional, and your spiritual all one together within yourself, you usually are wrapped pretty tight then. You're pretty good. And so, and it's hard to keep them all straightened out. One of them will get out of line, almost every week, oh, where are you going over there? What are you thinking? Or what are you feeling? Or what's up? Why did you eat that ho-ho? Take care of your physical, be idiot. So, I mean, I think it's really important for us to correct and don't be sad about self-correcting. The old excuse, well, I'm human. I think God's actually creating superhumans now. And some of us are into the space of like not very human, right? And so where we know everything going on with everything. And so I don't know that the just human is going to work anymore. I don't think God's taking that as an excuse anymore. And so good to know. So I think we have to move. A lot's expected of us, and God has a lot that is on our plates these days to pull off. And you get the more you get your emotional all together, you'll be able to find your way quicker.
Which takes me into my next question. You and I met. The movie The Art of Manifestation is coming out, which I'm
Yeah,
going to know, and you're a part of that series. I'm really excited for that. And
me too.
manifestation and consciousness. People ask me all the time, like, how do you manifest things? What's your thoughts? And you manifest a whole lot more than I yet.
Well, I like stuff. And ever see that I like, chances are I want one. And a minute later, chances are I have one, whatever it may be. And I've learned that I can manifest. What can you manifest? Anything. You can manifest anything you want. I this little spiritually gifted kid. We were poor people, really poor, and we didn't have indoor plumbing. I mean, at a Johnny house, so, I'm letting you kind of had, but it was how people lived. And it was just, we were super poor. I would be in my mom's old 1949 Chevrolet coupe, which these days I'd love to have because it'd be valuable. But we would I through the fire and seeing the ground underneath. It was like there was holes in that had rusted out, but that was as good as we could do. And and she would be taking me close by town. We lived in the country, but she would be taking me to the town to maybe get my only pair of shoes for the year to go to school. And we would pass by this big old white mansion house, and I would point to it and I tell my mama, I said, I'm gonna live there someday. That's gonna be my house right there. That's my house. And my mom would go, it is, if you want it to be. If you want it. And I remember I would get thinking about it now, but I would get teary then. And the tear had some magic. Me realize that I could do that. And so, because this guy owned everything in the area, and my mom had worked for him at one time, and he was a very rich man. Anyway, my house now, and so that's where I live. And so,
Yeah.
and it's not even the nicest I've ever had. And so, but it's like it's amazing that even as you start to manifest, I think as soon as you have this magical connection, and I was born with one. So for me, it was easy because I just kind of came this way. And so, but I could manifest things and they would show up. And so, and to a ridiculous science. And so, I realized, wow, this really works. This is the way it works. But I think it works for everybody. Find the connection, pull yourself together, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. Pull yourself together. Takes a little work on yourself, and meditate. And when you talk to God, and then you also get to listen to God. And then when He tells you to do something, you either got to be, I say, dumb enough or smart enough to do what He tells you. It's okay. You could be dumb enough, okay, or you could be smart enough. Just do what He says, and you'll get to where you get that down to a science. And then it gets easy. Life becomes abundant. If you want to be wealthy, you can be wealthy. Love, you can soulmate, you can find really anything you want, you can do. And I am a great testimonial for, and so because I really do live, and I think it's important when people kind of what they preach. And so that's a Southern expression, to practice what you preach. And it's fun. It's fun to be with other people. That's the main thing. And don't be shy about doing that. Help. A lot of times, if I 10 of something, what's wrong with giving away 9 of them? And I do that. I do that. Crazy away. Give this away. Give this away. It comes back times over. It just does. And it may
Absolutely.
not come back. It may not come back. It's going to come back. That's not up to you. You let God work all that out. And let Him bring you your abundance. Let Him bring you your soulmate. Let Him bring you your world. Or let Him bring you your big old mansion house if you want one. So whatever you want, whatever you want.
I
So
love why so many people are experiencing spiritual awakening. Like, why now?
let me think about that. I've got answers. Many of them, but the biggest one would be God is changing His universes, and He's lighting them up with tremendous light. So God is lighting things up, and many times when I walk around the house or the retreat center or wherever I am, people will see me glowing. Most of
Mhm.
the time, seminars. I don't know if you experienced that when you were at the retreat, but many times, I'll say glow, glow. I'll see in this, like this, and you'll see a golden hue around me. That's light. Sometimes people will take pictures at the retreats when we're out meditating in the gardens, and you'll see this crazy light around my head. You'll see rainbows over my head. You'll see all these things really that physically come through in photographs or in video, and that's because they're so available days. So God is changing His universes and bringing us tremendous light. And we are an extension of God. We're God beings. That's what we are. We're God beings. And so, with being a God being, we respond to light. So, this is really the true core reason that everybody's interested in spiritual things. They just feel it. They just feel it. And light matters, love matters, love and light, same thing, healing thing. All these little simple words are important. And a whole lot of them, they all mean the same thing: love, healing, light, all this. And but the connection with the more you better your connection is. So why would you not meditate? Because your connection's going to be better and your life will end up being tremendous if you just allow it. So why would you not allow? You just go to allow and let it happen. It's easy.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, I do have a listening audience, which will be in the show notes, but what is that gift? Let's share with us.
Oh, a gift of what is it? Say it again. The gift of.
Gift for the listening audience. What?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was trying to think. Gift. Well, it is a spiritual gift, and it's really, we're doing, I do a podcast every so Eastern time every Saturday evening, and people call, and it's like thousands of people call in, and they want to ask me a question too. And so, for any of your listeners that want to do that, there's a certain way, and we'll put it in the show notes, I guess, and where they can call in and get through and ask me a question. And so usually they have to stand in line for who knows how long, but rather than doing that, they can get through. And so I'll be able to answer your question for you. So all you got to do is call us up. And our office number, of course, is 800-827-GARY, 800-827-4279, or GarySpivey.com, SPIVEY.com, GarySpivey.com. But that's the gift. The gift is you can be. So there we are, and we'll have fun. And check out the podcast. You guys will enjoy it.
Love it. Love it. I personally will do it. I've said that I've just been on the fly. So I will definitely make that time as well because it's become important to me now. The
Well, it
connection.
is important. It is important. And you got to take, basically, you guys have to realize we do have a responsibility to ourselves, to heaven, and to God, to take care of us. Because we're his precious kids. That's who we are. We're his children for real. The other day, he was commenting something to me, and he called us his children in the conversation I was having with him. And when he said that, I just felt tremendous lit up spiritual gift, and I saw all these gifts raining down heaven. And I thought, well, this is really good. And so we're God's children. And so we got to behave ourselves and take care of ourselves. So you got to take care of you.
You've left so many pearls of wisdom, and I always ask before, I call them pearls of wisdom. Um, what's one more pearl of wisdom that you, the listeners, will take away with today and remember the conversation?
Well, it's a bit, I think it's in the Bible, but it came to me. And I love thyself. And so I'm not a biblical scholar, by no means. But however, I heard those words right. The biggest thing to turn up your volume is simply, just you can always hold your, realize you're healing and your magic comes through your hands many times. And so you would just simply project love and light to the world, and then project love and light to you. And so just project light to you, love you, and love yourself. As you turn up the love that you have for yourself, you're going to turn up the love that you have for God and He has for you in an infinity way. The figure eight thing, that infinity energy, you'll find that that'll just hook up, and it's quite magical. And then you can, whatever it is you want to manifest, once you get all lit up, you'll light coming in, you'll feel a little warmer, a little tingly, a little whatever. And then you just simply ask God for what it is you're looking for, or whatever you want. And so, it happens really fast these days. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Gary, thank you so much for your time and energy. I could speak
No,
to you
thank
all
you.
and never get bored. We do
Oh,
have
me too.
quite a bit in common. I'd love to have you back and for
Okay.
conversation. Gary Spivey, just what a blessing. Thank you. Thank you.
You're a blessing. Love you. Like I said, you're adopted by everybody, my whole crew, and everybody loves you to death. We had so much fun with you at our retreat, and I had so much fun with you running around the world to some of the, TV events and things. Thank you so much, and we look forward to these shows coming out. Art of Manifestation, all right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's
absolutely. You're going to be
you're
playing more in the future for sure. I look
great.
forward.
Great. I love you. I'll see you. Okay.
Thank you. And to the listening audience, if captured your attention today, all of Gary Spivey's information will be in the show notes as well as connection to me. If you have any questions, reach out. You'll get me answering them for sure. And for sure, until next time, keep spiraling upward, keep commanding the light, and remember, the bridge between ordinary and extraordinary is built with small steps of change and big leaps of faith. We'll see you next time on the Awakening Potential Show. Bye for now.